Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining on this webinar. My name is Harshavardhan Dole. I work at IIFL Securities institutional desk, and I cover oil and gas sector along with the other energy sectors which are listed. During today's discussion, we will actually try and understand and try and delve upon the upcoming issue of Reliance Industries rights issue, how attractive or unattractive it is to invest, or whether one should look at it or not. Now, there are several queries which have come through. And before we take these queries one after the other, I'd like to make a broader opening statement as to why we like Reliance Industries and why we think that this is a good portfolio holding. And after that, perhaps we could take these questions. So if you look at Reliance Industries, it's of course one of the largest business houses in India. It has got an immaculate track record in terms of creating businesses and running them successfully. Over the years, they have developed an integrated hydrocarbon business whereby 70 million ton refinery and 22 million ton of petrochemical projects which are integrated are successfully operated all over India. They are among the top 5 O2C producers in each of the product categories that they operate. They have the scale, and interestingly, they are redeploying the cash flows from O2C business in the sunrise businesses such as technology and retailing. This, of course, will benefit them in 2 terms. One, over a period of time, the uncertainty or the cyclicality associated with the O2C business will be more or less taken care by the secular growth nature of the retail as well as technology business. Secondly, from a valuation perspective, while the commodity O2C business may face issues over short to medium term, the sunrise businesses such as telecom and retailing actually command a substantial premium. And while these businesses grow up and their share in terms of profitability increases, they will actually start commanding substantial chunk in terms of overall valuations. So recently, they have inducted 3 investors in their flagship venture, which is Reliance Jio, and sort of established a valuation benchmark, which no one would have thought 3 years back they'll be able to command. So not only they have demonstrated a world-class business capabilities, but they have also established a great valuation benchmark for that particular venture. I think if investors buy and hold the stock, in the next 3 years, to me, the stock can fetch you at least 50 to 60% return in the base case. So we are advocating our institutional investors that this should be a core portfolio holding. And with that opening remark, I'm more than happy to take these questions one after the other. So the first, the questions are, broadly classified into 2 or 3 types. One is whether we should go ahead and invest in rights issue. Of course, the rights issue price is fairly attractive, 1257 rupees a share, which is a substantial discount to, current price, which is already ex-rights price, approximately 1500 rupees. To me, if you buy the share now, not only you get a chance to participate in Reliance's O2C business, but you are getting a chance to participate in one of the largest startups in Asia and across the world, which has a potential to create massive value over the next 3 to 5 years. So definitely, one should look forward to invest in the rights issue. And to us, the rights issue price is fairly attractive. Not only the pricing, But I think the rights issue come with part payment option as well. At the time of application, one has to pay only 25% of the total money up front, and balance is to be paid as and when the company calls for it. So it becomes fairly convenient for even the retail and the HNI investors, considering what the current market volatility is. People may not be in a state of mind to invest entire money up front. So this is sort of a convenient option to invest in the rights issue, which has got a call option as well, call or multiple call options as well. So definitely one should look forward to invest in the rights issue. Second question is basically, quite a few people have actually asked whether these partly paid, shares will be tradable. Yes, these partly paid, shares will be tradable. I think more details will be available to all the investors when the rights issue, will be launched by the company. And I think based on several media reports, it is, I think, mostly the rights issue may be launched in the later part of this month. Although all of us are, waiting for the exact date and the modalities. Now, typically, when these shares are traded, we have seen from other examples like Tata Steel, where partly paid shares were traded. Initially, the liquidity is actually quite high, but after those anxious sellers who don't want to hold those partly paid shares, once those are out, and then perhaps the liquidity kind of edges down. But if somebody is not comfortable holding partly paid shares, definitely he gets a chance to sell in the initial period of time. So yes, you can definitely trade in those in that period as well. Well, this is an interesting question, which is coming from Vinod Chandraji Modi. Whether one should sell with or without rights. Sir, I think if you hold the stock today, you can actually renounce it. You can actually renounce your rights. But I don't think so. You can right now sell the stock, and somebody who buys it has basically an option to, subscribe to the share. The share is actually already gone X rights. So the record date was actually yesterday. So to that extent, if you are holding the stock now, you'll have to invest, or you just forego your rights to your subscription rights. Well, this is again a very detailed and interesting question which has come from one Mr. Anil from California. He has got multiple sub questions as well. I will take the first one, which is RIL could not raise debt of 10,000 crores at a cheaper rate. How will they be able to raise essentially 53,000 crores? Well, Mr. Anil, I think if you look at the shareholding pattern of RIL, 50% holding is with the promoters, and balance 50% is with institutional and the retail shareholders. The promoters have given a undertaking that in case any of the shareholders, particularly on the retail side, they are not willing to subscribe, then the promoters are more than happy to subscribe to their portion as well. So I think, promoters are more than happy to absorb that portion. And if you again look at the shareholding pattern of RIL, approximately 8% is 8 to 9% is approximately the shareholders who own up to 2 lakh rupees of equity shares of RIL. And if you give them an option to invest 25% now and balance 75% on call, I think it becomes fairly convenient. So in my logic, very low chances of those people not investing in RIL. And mind you, this is Reliance's mega issue after almost 31 years. So there will be a reasonable appetite. On the institutional side, my sense is a lot of institutions may look forward to invest. But again, if they don't, promoters are more than happy to subscribe to their portion and inch up their shareholding. So I hope that answers. Second, you've asked, even ICICI Bank proposes to raise over 23,000 crores. CS Bank tried to raise, the money market is tight. Well, yes, your observations are right, and money markets are tight. But I think RIL issue will more or less go through for the simple reason I think it's attractively priced, and people will see value in that. You've also asked that Saudi Aramco deal may or may not happen, and that might get announced after the rights issue is over. Well, sir, that is your interpretation. I mean, I have nothing to add out there, but at least what Reliance has officially stated and also given in the press release, that they are looking forward to carve out their refinery and petrochemical business, which to me is a first step, to induct a strategic investor. So I would say that the intent to induct a strategic investor is very much there with Reliance. I don't want to jump the gun and say whether Saudi is happening or not. I think let us wait and let's wait whether it happens or not. And if you take a cue from what has happened in Geo, they've actually surprised everyone by getting in Facebook. So I'm not suggesting whether Saudi will happen or not, but if I were to make a choice, I think it will be a win-win deal, because Saudi Aramco gets a footstep in India and they get a credible partner like RIL. Your next question was the Canadian investor, I guess you're referring to the Brookfield, is yet to complete due diligence, and the $5 to $6 billion investment is yet to happen. Well, you're right. The tower essentially InvIT, which was proposed, has yet to be concluded. It was stuck in some regulatory approvals. Reliance has officially stated in last conference call that by end of the quarter, that deal should go through and they should receive the money. I mean, that's their official stance, and let's see whether they're able to conclude the deal by the end of the quarter or not. The tower, the fiber InvIT, as of now, there is no committed investor out there. And that, again, a lot of these investors are watching this keenly as to how the fiber deal will go through. The money market is tight. Even Tata Motor had to cancel, is what your next question is. Well, Reliance, if I analyze the broader picture correct, Reliance has been able to raise money from the money market in last 1 month or so. And while mutual funds may not have subscribed to it, is what I understand, a lot of these banks have subscribed to their commercial, the CPs and the short-term debt that they have planned to raise. So I think they have been able to raise money, is what I understand from media and a lot of channel checks. So, Mr. Anil, I hope I've able to summarize the answers to the question that you had asked. If you have any further questions, more than happy to take it offline, or you could just drop me a link on the Q&A, and more than happy to take that as well. Well, one Mr. Tejas Shah is asking about RIL on 18th March. It's a small quantity. Will I be able to participate in the rights issue? Well, yes, sir. You will be able to participate in the rights issue. And because the record date was actually, record date is rather 14th of May. So anyone who's a shareholder on 14th of May will be able to participate in the rights issue. Mr. Sachin Zaveri, he's asked one question. Would Reliance be able to be net debt free after the rights issue? It's a fair question. Well, the debt on RIL has been an issue of debate for a long period of time. But I think there are measures which have been taken by the company, which will lead to, which will actually enable them to be net debt free by at least this fiscal year end. And my sense is, if not only the rights issue, which is 53,000 crores, then essentially the rights issue along with the money that will come in Reliance Jio, which is approximately 60,000 crores through three investors, along with this rights issue and in their internal cash flows, I think more or less they should be able to be net debt free by this fiscal year end. I'd like to add a caveat. This, of course, assumes that the COVID-related challenges are addressed and the economy comes to normalcy by later half of this year. If the situation worsens, then of course they'll have to go to drawing board and see. But I think there are more levers available with them, particularly if say for example, if they are able to conclude the deal with Aramco, you get another $15 billion. They've stated that they'd like to add one more marquee name in Geo, and there was a speculation in media that perhaps Microsoft maybe is kind of Microsoft, General Atlantic, and a couple of others are trying to do due diligence to take a chunky stake in Reliance Jio. So all that put together, I think they have levers to raise cash and be sort of debt free. Well, Mr. Parmar is asking, what is the experience of price movement of companies after rights issue, and what's Reliance outlook? Sir, we just talked about Reliance's outlook. We are fairly positive. Well, in the near term, the refinery and the petrochemical business will definitely face an issue because all of us know crude prices have tumbled. Nobody's moving cars on the road. Nobody's consuming, apart from the essential goods. So that definitely has a pressure even on the, goods that get into packaging, etc. So in the near term, there is definitely an issue. But thankfully, they have Geo and retail, which kind of, supplements the weakness in the O2C business. But bear in mind, Reliance's business are, if you plot the cost curve, they are among the lowest cost producers globally, be it, refinery or petrochem. So essentially, if at all global consumption falls only by, say, 70 to 80%, I see, those businesses reporting losses. So until then, I think there will be pressure, but that pressure is manageable. I think if you own the stock and are willing to hold the stock for next maybe 3 to 4 years, I think best is yet to come for RIL. Sachinji, I think he's asking again, is valuation above intrinsic value? I don't think so. I think there's deep value in RIL even now. Maybe next 12 months, more or less, one could argue that it is priced in. But again, I will think that for a stock like RIL, one should not look for 3, 6, 9, 12 months. You should buy and hold maybe for next 3 to 5 years to make a reasonable money in stock like RIL, which is, shunning away its commodity profile and trying to make a big move in technology business. Well, Mr. Deepak Borkar is asking if Reliance is a standalone company, is making rights issue and not Geo. Refinery business is a drag. Please advise. Sir, Reliance holds now 100% in Reliance Retail and, around 90 odd % now after Facebook in essentially Reliance Jio. So when you apply for Reliance rights, you are actually getting a chance to participate in the growth of sunrise businesses. And to that extent, you are getting a chance to invest in some of these marquee subsidiaries of RIL. I hope that answers. Reason, one Mr. Rungta is asking, reasons behind falling after announcement of record date of rights. Sir, that typically happens. I will not read too much into it. Short-term volatility on that particular day, but I will not read too much into it. I will, see that as a daily price movement and, look the broader picture. Mr. Satyamurthy, he's asking, will NRIs be offered rights? the company asks for a local address or email, which some of us do not have. If the rights are to be posted by physical form, NRI will obviously will not participate. Well, I think if I get it right, SEBI has recently come out with, you know, uh, certain rules or changes in regulations which allow companies to, post details to, shareholders in electronic form. And I'm not sure whether it is applicable for RIL's rights issue. So perhaps you will have to liaise with the company or perhaps you'll have to liaise with the company. But my sense is that rule could be also be applicable to RIL, and you may be able to participate in that. One Mr. Ajay Sharma is asking, I am holding REL today as of 13th May. Now, if I sell REL on 14th May, then who is eligible for rights issue, me or the buyer? Sir, essentially whosoever holds the stock on 14th of May is basically eligible to participate in the rights issue. So if you sell now, that is 13th, if you have sold the stock today, there is no way that you will be able to transfer these shares within before the rights issue. So I don't think so buyer will be able to essentially participate in the rights issue. I hope that answers your question. There's one Mr. Praveen Patil. If I have RIL share, then should I need to apply for rights? If yes, then please guide. Please guide for the process in terms of application of rights. So if you hold the stock, if you are a holder of Reliance shares, then company will soon send you details of, how to apply in the rights issue and what is the sub-application process. So please wait for that. You should soon hear from the company. Wow. There's one more question in terms of, yes, one Mr. Shailesh is asking, from approximately 9 lakh crore market cap, how much is ascribable to Jio? Well, sir, it's a fair question. And if you actually break down the market cap of RIL, which is 9 lakh crore, approximately a third of Reliance's market cap, I would think that as of now is coming from Jio, because when you look at the market cap, there is an associated debt which goes into running of these businesses. And mind you, Jio transferred a debt to RIL some time back. And to that extent, if one were to look at the picture holistically, close to a third or more than a third of that valuation will come from, Jio, and a lot of, and almost a third from retail. One Mr. Patel is asking, will price come around 1300? It's a good question, sir. I think I've not seen stocks which typically get into issuance of rights mode, either vehemently going up or vehemently coming down, because typically that's the nature of the instrument. So I think unless the market collapses significantly and there is again a pandemic accentuating from here on, then perhaps the short term, it's anybody's guess. But typically in rights issue, I've never seen a huge volatility in this stock, and that's how the nature of the rights issue is. One Mr. Shastri is asking, if I buy Reliance as on 12th of May, will I be eligible? I think yes. 12th was the, but you could have, if you had bought RIL stock on 12th of May, yes, you would be able to essentially get, you'll be eligible to buy RIL's rights issue. I hope that answers. One Mr. Nihal is asking, how much JioMart impact? Sir, JioMart is, just a new initiative which has started. I think one cannot segregate out Reliance JioMart apart or independent of Reliance Retail or essentially even Reliance Jio. One has to view it together. And I will not, guesstimate as to what is the impact of JioMart, etc. But definitely, the way investors are viewing it that it's a new business initiative from Reliance, and they are reaching out to consumers. So it's one more it's one more way to approach a consumer and sort of own it, and investors are looking it positively. One Mr. Ranveer is asking, is it a good option to sell Reliance shares at current levels to acquire money to subscribe to rights issue? Sir, Reliance shares have already become ex-rights. And again, if you sell the entire shares now, you'll be able to purchase only, 1/15th of it, because the ratio is one share for every 15th share. So I leave it up to you whether you want to sell now and buy late. I mean, it's like, it's independently your call. But what will matter is, what's the ex-rights price and what is the outlook 2 to 3 years out. Again, I will not, depending on what your near-term cash flow needs are, I mean, it will be entirely independent call, but I will not trade into the name. One Mr. Shah is asking, what should be the further action after rights issue is over? So once rights issue is over, I think what investors will look forward for is what is the utilization of rights issue, whether the debt is actually paid down or they choose to reinvest that money to grow these sunrise businesses. My sense is this time the intent of the promoter is very clear. They want to delever the balance sheet, retire the entire 1.6 lakh crore debt on the book, and make the company debt free, so that at least the pressure on the O2C business whenever the cycle worsens is not there going ahead. So that is one point that I will watch. Second is, of course, they have carving out the O2C business into 100% subsidiary. So I would look forward to see whether, as stated earlier, Aramco deal, how soon it happens. And if I were to believe the chatter, I think there is more probability of it happening rather than not. But again, one would have to wait and watch as to when exactly it happens and at what valuation it basically happens. Well, Mr. Sachin is asking, is right value justified after discounting oil and petrochemical business? I think, sir, 1257, the rights price is certainly attractive. It, of course, if one were to look at the O2C business as of FY21, one may say that on FY21, the weakness in the O2C business is not priced in. But again, all of us are not here to look at what happens this year or 6 months out. One typically looks forward to value the business on a normalized basis. And on a normalized environment, 1257 is a fairly attractive price when it comes to Reliance's rights price. There's one interesting question, sir. According to your study, will market cross 10K? Sir, I may not be the right person to answer that. My specialty lies in oil and gas. So anything pertaining to oil and gas, more than happy to take. And again, one should not speculate what will happen to Nifty. One is buying into stocks and not the Sensex or index. There's one Mr. Surinder Singh. He's asking, is it okay to buy Indigo shares at current market price? Sir, I focus in oil and gas. Maybe, my colleagues who cover essentially telecom business may be able to help you out on the logistics, may be able to help you out on that part. There's one interesting question. Rights issue form payment to be adjusted at our balance at India Info. Sir, I think you should best contact the relationship manager or, just drop us an email at research@iifl.com with the specific query, and we'll be able to take it in detail. I may not be the best person to answer that. One Mr. Pai is asking, I have shares in physical form, no demat, can I apply? Sir, I think you should liaise with the company. They'll be able to, help you best on that part, but you should be able to do that as well. Should not be an issue. What will be the effect on normal price from here on? Is the question asked by Mr. Pandey. Sir, the stock from yesterday has already got X rights. So the price is already adjusted for, the rights issue. And I hope, that is what you're asking. So today's price is X rights price. One Mr. Kumar is asking, what is the expected movement after the record date? Can we sell now and buy after? Sir, I just answered that. I hope you were, you heard that. One Mr. Kulkarni is asking why RIL went down by almost 100 rupees yesterday ahead of rights issue. Sir, as I said, on a day-to-day basis, there are, one cannot predict the price movement on a daily basis. But my sense is, since yesterday was the X rights price, certain market participants who did not wish to participate in RIL rights issue, and a lot of exchange traded funds and a lot of proprietary books who don't have mandates to invest in partly paid up shares, etc., they might have exited, and this is what my guess is. Perhaps that is the reason why the stock was down yesterday, and that's one reason that I can speculate or guesstimate. One Mr. Inamdar is asking, is it worth to buy? I feel there is good chance of correction. Sir, I'd love to buy any stock which is cheaper than the current price today. But all that we can say is one cannot, try and forecast the price on a daily basis. But look forward for a 3-year cash flow profile and try and discount that. So on that basis, I think it's a good, attractive price even at CMP. Okay. There is one question again from Mr. Punia, rights issue में invest करना चाहिए क्या? प्रदीप सर, हमने अभी डिस्कस किया rights issue में अभी invest करना चाहिए. It's a fairly attractive, it's priced fairly attractive, and we are suggesting to invest in Reliance rights issue. There's one Mr. Manoj who's asking whether we can sell Reliance on rise, and if so, what should we buy? So, sir, I think Reliance can give you price appreciation or can make well for you over the next 3 years or so. But again, if you are not comfortable holding the stock, it's your call, but we'd suggest you to hold. Since I cover other stocks in the sector as well, and I'd spend a couple of minutes there. So a lot of these city gas distribution companies are attractively priced with a 3 to 5 year view, and these stocks like IGL, Gujarat Gas, or Petronet LNG, these are good investment horizon, not from a speculation perspective, but clearly from an investment perspective. So you could also look at that. But again, if you own RIL, my suggestion will be to hold on. But again, it's an independent assessment that you need to do. We at Institutional Desk are recommending Reliance from a 3 to 5 year perspective as a good portfolio holding. So there's one question from Mr. Viren. Is it that Aramco deal is in doldrum, and so is RIL trying to get? Sir, we just discussed this. I think considering what is happening in the oil sector, there is a chatter that this deal might get delayed or maybe pushed back. But Reliance official communication, what they have stated in the fourth quarter earnings is that deal is very much on, and according to them, that deal will be basically decisively conclude sometime soon. But let us wait and watch. Not that I'm suggesting or I have some insights into it, All that I am saying is one should wait. They are carving out the O2C business, and there is a good chance that this deal might happen. There's one question from Manisha Gupta. I bought RIL in price 1573. What I would like to invest more at lower price, madam. I think if you bought the stock, you can participate in the rights issue, and definitely the stock corrects. You should be looking forward to add is what our fundamental recommendation is. And of course, that doesn't take into account daily price fluctuations. There's one question coming from Durga B. Reliance rights issue is different from stocks. So, sir, rights is basically, if you own a common stock, company is giving you an option to subscribe to a rights issue. So it's very much like a common stock. It's just that in this case, the company is giving an option to pay 25% at the time of application and balance on calls. So it's very much like, common stock. And if you own the stock, you'll soon hear from Reliance. There's one question from the other on the other stocks, which what is view on HP, BP, and IOC? So all these stocks have bombed out, and these are trading well below their respective book values. But if you buy into these stocks, considering the fact that these are PSUs, and more often in PSUs, these are hugely volatile stocks. So one should bear in mind that while there may be great rewards in place, these stocks will be fairly volatile. So one Mr. Mehul is asking, part payment option is available. What will be the first installment? So based on Reliance's disclosure, at the time of application, one has to make 25% of 1257, and balance, 75% will be will be defined by the company. And meanwhile, you can essentially this partly paid share will be traded separately. So one Mr. Nageshwara Rao is asking, I had 155 shares. How many shares will I get? So typically, sir, if you own 15 shares, you will get rights to exercise or rather, you will get rights to subscribe to, essentially one share. So you can do the math, 155 by 15. So will Reliance cross 1600 levels, sir? Again, I don't want to speculate on the time frame when it will cross, but my sense is if you hold the stock, I think over the next 3 years, Reliance can definitely give you more than 50% returns. So one Mr. Praveen Patil has said, yesterday I observed that there were 4 times more volume seller, but still stock did not come down. How can this happen? I mean, sir, it's a good observation. Maybe, we'll come back to you on that part. So more or less, I think we have covered most of the queries which have been posted. There might be, a couple of them, such as essentially how to subscribe in the rights issue, or if you don't have a local email address. I think those questions should be posted to the company. I may not be the best person to answer those. And so I think I'd like to end the session here. Thank you very much for watching. For more details, in case if you have on this issue, do write us to research@iifl.com or visit us at www.iifl.com. Thank you very much, gents. Thank you.